Hello everyone, this is a short video on my daily routine for baby leopard tortoises. It will hopefully help new owners of these tortoises to see the routine that I follow each day to care for these youngsters. I've also included some tips and time savers that may be useful to existing owners of leopard tortoises. So in this video I'll be covering my morning routine and my evening routine. So for the morning routine we'll be using the checklist on the left. The first thing that I do is around 7 to 8 in the morning, I switch their lights on. So on goes their UVB basking bulb, and I also have another UVB strip light. I also have 2 sets of these in my setup, so I'll just go and switch the others on too. I actually have all of the lights on timers so that they automatically come on each morning and then switch off again each evening. So you won't need to do this step if you also have your lights on timers. I also stagger the time the lights come on by a couple of minutes, so they come on gradually and it doesn't startle the baby tortoises by suddenly flooding their tortoise table with light. But also I didn't want to risk a small power surge, as I have quite a few devices that use electricity. I'm not sure if it would actually cause a power surge, but I didn't want to test it out in case it ruined my lamps or cut the power. Then I prepare their water, so I collect their water dishes. And then put out their water. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I use cooled boiled water or filtered water for this. Then I use the leftover water to rehydrate their moss and then put it back under their hide to create a humid area for them. So I leave the moss in the water for about 10 seconds before squeezing out all the excess water. And I have 2 hides in this setup, so I'll just do the other one now as well. You'll need to make sure the water is squeezed out as much as possible, otherwise it may attract little flies. Next I spot clean the tortoise table for any wee or poo. So any wee that I find I'll use a spoon and then scoop out the soil that's dirty and then throw it away. And any poo I just grab this and throw this away as well. Then I lightly brush the soil to scrape away any of the old food. I don't worry too much about the odd bit of grass that's left, as this gives them something to discover and nibble on later on in the day, and dried grass is safe for them as well. Next I prepare the food and put it out. I prepare a few days at a time as I have so many babies to feed, and it's a real time saver in the mornings. And once I've prepared a few days worth, then I put it in the fridge to keep fresh. I then remove the cuttlefish, as I don't want this getting damp when I spray the soil. And then I lightly spray the soil with a mister. I also recommend that you keep the mister or water sprayer in your tortoise room so that the water is slightly warmer when you go to spray them. I use filtered water in my sprayer and change the water in it twice a week. You'll need to be careful when using a mister that you don't accidentally spray any electrics, bulbs or thermometers. So I'd recommend either removing these items first or don't spray anywhere near them. I then check the cuttlefish looks okay and file away any rough edges before placing it back in the tortoise table face up. Cuttlefish has a tough layer on one side, which is too hard for the babies to nibble on. So what we can do is use the tough side of another piece of cuttlefish and file away the hard edges. The final check I do is to make sure their hide, their water and food bowls and other objects haven't been moved too close to the edges, so that there's no risk they can climb out of the tortoise table or that they'll flip upside down near their water bowl or basking areas. And then I do a quick check on the babies to make sure they all look okay and look healthy, and then I leave them to do their tortoise thing for the day. If the water gets dirty during the day, then I will replace it with fresh water. Next we'll cover the evening routine. So this is using the checklist on the right hand side. I normally start with the evening routine around 6 o'clock. First I remove their food bowls and empty it into the recycling that I keep nearby. So I have a bag for dry waste like food, poo and soil, and this goes into my garden recycling bin, or it can go in the compost in the garden. And I have a bucket for used water, and I empty this in the garden or down the drain. And I have a bag for paper towel waste, and this goes in the normal household waste bin. Next I remove the water bowls and empty them into the waste bucket. Then we do the spot clean, so we clear up any wee, poo and old food, like we did in the morning routine. And we do the safety and health checks, again like we did in the morning routine. Then around 8 o'clock in the evening in the summer, or 4 o'clock in the evening in the winter, the tortoise table lights are switched off. In the UK, when our evenings start to get darker, I also start to gradually reduce the time the lights go off to match this. So for example, the first week the lights are on 8 AM to 8 PM, then 2 weeks later 8 AM to 7:30 PM, then 2 weeks later 8 AM to 7 PM, and so on until the lights are on 8 AM to 4 PM. Reducing the time the lights are on isn't absolutely essential, it's just what I do, as I've noticed that the babies aren't as active in the evenings in the winter, and most are done for the day around the time it gets dark outside. And the final job is to clean and disinfect the food and water bowls. And that's the evening routine completed. The other routine jobs that I do to care for my baby tortoises are: I prepare a batch of food for the baby tortoises twice a week. I also bath the hatchlings every other day, and twice a week for 1 to 4 year olds. I change the substrate monthly, and I change the bulbs every 6 to 12 months. I will do another video on changing the substrate and bulbs, as there are some useful tips you may benefit from on these jobs. And I'll leave links to these videos once they're done, and the other ones that I've listed on this slide in the description. Thanks for watching my video, and if you've enjoyed it, please click the thumbs up and subscribe to see my other videos.